Democrat Socialists doubling down on some of their most extreme platforms.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Long term. She's proud of it. Yep.
But do their views speak for the entire Democratic Party? What we need to know as the DSA just keeps growing.
Hey, 53% approve of socialism in the Democratic Party. And forget a degree in finance. Arizona State is now offering a degree in becoming an influencer. And I put that in italics. Fox and Friends starts right now. Remember, your mornings are better with friends. Get dressed. Hashtag. All right, you think it's hot down south. Things are heating up in Michigan today, with President Trump set to hold a rally at GM to tout the administration's economic accomplishments during his second term.
And it comes as early in-person voting is underway in the battleground states primary, with key governor and Senate races on that ballot.
Alex Hogan's live at the White House with the details. Hey, Alex.
Good morning, Steve, Brian, and Ainsley. So as you mentioned, President Trump will leave the White House today. He will head to Michigan, and that is where early voting is already underway. Tonight, there will be a debate between some of the Democratic candidates for Senate, including these two you see on screen, Dr. Abdul El-Sayed and Representative Haley Stevens. With less than 100 days until the midterms, there's a lot of questions over the future of the Democratic Party and some new controversy within. A new report detailing how Chair Ken Martin reportedly threw his phone at the desk of a junior aide while berating them. The New York Times writing, quote, that the phone tossing incident resulted in a formal complaint to the DNC's Human Resources Department. The fallout from the phone throwing episode was described by half a dozen people familiar with the incident. Mr. Martin later met with DNC Human Resources officials about his behavior. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries addressed that report yesterday.
Yes, the chairman has my full support. What we've seen over the last 18-plus months is that Democrats have won every single meaningful election up and down the ballot across the country during that period of time. And we look forward to our continued partnership.
One of the co-chairs of the Democratic Socialists of America joined Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream, who asked if established Democrats should be worried about DSA plans for their party.
The establishment Democrats should be worried about the voters and about what the voters think and about what the constituency thinks. And right now they have not been delivering, and our candidates are and have been, and it's resonating with voters.
And Romer went on to explain to Shannon Bream some of the other arguments that the DSA is trying to make, and changes like expanding Congress, getting rid of the Senate, getting rid of the presidency and the Supreme Court as we know it, and abolishing prisons, and as a future long-term plan, even opening up the borders. Guys, back to you.
You left out getting rid of the Pentagon. Right.
And prisons.
What are you going to say? Alec, thank you very much. You know what? Shannon Bream put the woman that we just saw in that report. She just gave her a list. Okay, yes or no? Are you for this stuff? Are you against it? Watch this, and then try to keep your jaw up here.
So we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what can you add to
Other than that?
So what is that called? Like chaos? Not having a country?
Socialism.
Right.
Insane. Open up the prisons?
Yes.
Let the rapists and the murderers out.
You know what her theory is? Her theory is the only reason there are prisons is because people are impoverished. So she goes, once we get them money, they're going to have no reason to break the law. There's some people, we'll work on that, they're going to break. So this is somebody really well thought out. There's not one country doing this, even the Soviet Union. They like locking people up. That's why they had the Gulag. Say they love locking people up. So at one point, you got to say, okay, give me an example. And some people say Sweden, Norway, Finland. all those countries, those Nordic countries, have stopped any of those socialistic principles that they tried, and they sealed their border. One of the big regrets they have is they opened it up. So they did a survey of Democrats. So in case you want to exonerate them and say, well, that's just a fringe, it's not true. 52% of Democrats approve of socialism. You know how many independents do? 17. Republicans, 4%.
Right.
So if you can't win with that independence, they're not with you.
And if you can't win the independents, you cannot win in a general election. But those are, that laundry list of stuff that you're going, we got to have the Supreme Court. We got to have all that stuff. We have to have prisons. Extraordinarily, those people on the big board over there are far left candidates that won their primaries this election cycle. The big question is, ultimately, can they win the general election? The conventional wisdom is no, they can't. But just remember, it wasn't that many years ago that AOC right here in New York City blew up, I think, the number 3 Democrat in the House of Representatives because she appealed to the far left, which is a very potent message this cycle.
And even if there are two different perspectives within the party, you have the Trojan horse, ultimately left-wing or moderate, it's still the Democratic Party. And the Wall Street Journal has an op-ed, says abolish the Senate, says the DSA, and it reads in part, if we could scroll up, that'd be great.
Yep, could have committed to memory, we didn't have time.
It's important to understand how radical this is. Essentially blowing up the Constitution's separation of powers. Letting Congress choose the president means adopting the parliamentary system that prevails in Britain. It would essentially remove the presidential veto power. Third world dictators seek to make the judiciary subservient to the ruling party for this reason, as they did in Venezuela and as Mexico's Morena party is now attempting to do. The job of Republicans now and Democrats who have the guts is to educate the country about the agenda. The political task is to link the DSA to their specific and radical proposals and ask Democrats running for Congress if they agree with abolishing the Senate or neutering the judiciary.
And the New York City chapter of Democratic Socialists of America is in the process of rewriting our Constitution. There's an emergency constitution. They're looking at a program now, and they're going to be changing our country around. They're going to have it all in writing, so to know what our country will look like if they ever come into power. So who are these people? They're essentially overeducated white people on the downward spiral in their careers, doing all they can to destroy the country on their way out. I have a sense that I have a suggestion, maybe they could leave our country, but that's up to them. Now, for people who say history says that Republicans should do terrible in the midterms, right? And a lame duck president in the midterm usually does bad. All I could tell you is look at the rise of socialism, look at redistricting, and then look at this thing called bankruptcy among the DNC. They are so out of money, they have asked their vendors to not build them until after November to avoid the embarrassment of not being able to pay them. They refinanced their building in order to get money to win some special elections, and now they're broke. I mean, if there's anything to push back against history, Democrats are making it happen, giving Republicans great hope.
Yeah, Republicans have $128 million in cash in the bank, zero debt. The Democrats have $18 million in debt, only $16 million in hand, and most of that debt is from the 2024 cycle. Thanks, Kamala.
Yeah.
Her legacy is perhaps, given the fact, and Brian, you pointed this out, you would think that Republicans would lose in the midterms, but now with the DNC with no dough to buy a bunch of ads, suddenly the DNC doesn't look so hot.
Yeah.
She bought a lot of word salads.
Yep, she blew $1 billion, but who hasn't? We've all done it once.
All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.